In the headlines, ahead of APC National Convention, governors meet President Muhammadu Buhari, agree on consensus candidate. NDLEA intercepts 1.9 million tablets of tramadol at Lagos Airport. Senate approves monetary committee members. And on the foreign scene, China develops or deploys drones, thermal scanners, and to scar China Eastern crash site. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Dashan Hussaina Usman. Ahead of the March 26th convention of the ruling All Progressives Congress, the governors of the party have declared their support for the candidate endorsed by President Muhammadu Buhari. The governor stated this on Wednesday after a meeting with President Buhari led by the APC Caretaker Committee Chairman and Governor of Yobe State, Mai Mala Buni. Briefing State House correspondents after the meeting, the chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum and Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, said they will support any process that will lead to a consensus and urge the governors to explore the options of consensus. Recall Buhari had last month said he is in favor of the consensus mode for selecting candidates for the party's national positions.
There was a letter that was widely circulated in the media addressed to me as the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and copied to a number of others, including the chairman of the Caretaker Committee, the acting chairman of the Caretaker Committee, and indeed the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. So that letter led to a series of actions, including meetings between the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, chairman of the National Caretaker Committee, acting chairman, Governor Abu Bello of Niger State, as he was then, and myself, where we all restated our commitment to working together to ensure that the convention takes place on March 22nd, 2022. And then we agreed to support all the decisions that were taken by the Caretaker Committee, both acting as a working committee and acting with the donated powers given to it by the National Executive Committee. And indeed, the chairman of the caretaker, upon his return, also appreciated what the caretaker committee did and the decisions that were taken in his absence. Today, we all briefed Mr. President on that. Of course, included on that is the issue of distributing of political party offices to the respective zones, and our support for Mr. President's endorsement of the candidate for the national chairman of the party. And the various zones, geopolitical zones, took turn to brief Mr. President on what they have been doing to generate consensus in the respective zones amongst the National Working Committee and zonal party positions that have been allocated, either allocated to the zones or which the zones are entitled to. Most of the zones have been allocated National Working Committee positions that are fewer than the number of states, but however, there are zonal executive committees.
Embattled Governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, says he is not worried over a recent court decision which sacked his administration. The governor stated this on Wednesday while fielding questions from State House reporters after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. Reacting to the development, Umahi said there is no constitutional provision that says a governor can be sued, noting that God allowed the incident to manifest to provide him an opportunity to further consult on his presidential ambition. Recall a federal high court Abuja on Monday had struck out the motion filed by Umahi seeking for a stay of execution of the March 8th judgment.
To give judgment that I go nowhere, allowed another court to say because we defected and the votes belong to the party, And I'm very much worried because the highest court has said that votes belong to the candidates. And that's why even though APC won the election in Bayelsa State, but the deputy governor's credentials were defective. And even a day to the swearing in, the Supreme Court ruled disqualifying the candidate of APC that won the election because of his deputy. And so if votes belonged to the party, it would have been that the Supreme Court in their wisdom would have just asked for the man that won the election for party to bring a substitute to do that. So I'm not worried because in the first place, there is no constitutional provision that says that a governor can be sued in the first place. So I'm not suable, but a court judgment is a court judgment. I'm not to interpret it, but the Constitution we swore to uphold, I can speak to the Constitution. And the Constitution says that when once you are elected, you enjoy immunity. And Supreme Court says votes cast in an election belong to the candidates. And that's why you have qualifications of a candidate and no qualifications of a political party.
Former Senate President Bukola Saraki is seeking support for his presidential ambition from party delegates of the PDP in Maiduguri, Borno State. The Saraki Contact and Advocacy Council team, led by Professor Iruese Haga, appealed to party members to support the presidential ambition of the former senator, promising inclusive governance and empowerment. He said that Nigeria is suffering from leadership deficit, economic hardships, and insecurity, which needs urgent rescue.
Old men, young people, all in total anguish, in despair, wondering. They have lost their last match. If we lose again, the whole thing goes back to the end. That is why the PDP must choose its best captain, its best striker, its greatest man, who we know has been scoring. Wherever he goes, whichever match he has attended, he scores the winning goal.
Insecurity is everywhere. You cannot travel 50 kilometers without your blood pressure rising low in this country. Inflation is at the highest level ever. And today, our people cannot even boast of 3 square meals. Once we lost this election, PDP, whether we like it or not, will go into extinction. Therefore, we should all rise to the challenge to ensure that PDP is voted into power in Nigeria and in Borno State. Are we going to defend our goals? Yes. Are we going to ensure that the PDP have won the next election? Yes. Thank you. We are also working on that, and we don't want to reveal our strategies. But this time around, whether they like it or not, we will not allow them to steal our votes. Our votes must count.
Still in politics, ahead of the 2023 general elections, some members of the All Progressives Congress in Kaduna North Federal Constituency say next governor of the state should come from Zone 1 in the interest of justice and fairness. Fatima Salih Ladan has more.
Spokesperson of the group, Dr. Usman Ahmed Dambaba, says exclusion of the zone from key federal and state elective and political appointment is alarming and worrisome, saying the zone have not been compensated by the party.
We make bold to demand for the following as it affects the choice of a successor to our leader. 1, we're looking at geographical location. Of course, it isn't by chance that the state is divided into 3 different senatorial zones, but for political parties and politicians to be fair and strategic. For instance, the senator The 6 members of House of Representatives, 11 out of the 12 State Assembly members, 7 out of the 8 council chairpersons from Zone 1 are all from the APC. However, none of the governor, the deputy governor, the 2 ministers representing Kaduna State, the party chairman of the APC, the party secretary at the state, the women leader, the youth leader, or the state representative at the national level of the APC is from Zone 1.
The group, while lamenting how both elective and appointive positions are dominated by persons from Zone 2 and 3, said they have believed their zone has capable hands who can do well if given the chance.
The next governor of the state must be bold, well-educated, and charismatic enough to discuss matters related to the development of the state and articulate them. We need that to be sustained as well. In fact, we wouldn't appreciate anything below that.
The group said the next governor of the state must be bold, well-educated, and charismatic enough to discuss matters related to the development of the state and articulate them. Fatima Salaladan, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
House of Representatives on Wednesday moved a motion to appeal the court ruling on the Electoral Act, which states that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election. The lawmakers, who took turns to speak on the motion moved by Representative Sada Soli, also appealed to the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, to desist from implementing the court ruling until the matter is resolved. The House also unanimously moved in support of the motion to petition the National Judicial Council on the said matter. In his ruling, the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, lamented that the National Assembly will not serve as a party to the suit and will not allow the institution to be ridiculed under his watch.
Or civil servant in federal appointment or in civil or in state appointment. It did not in any way look at the political appointees and their future and their attempt to participate in the electoral process of this country.
I'm taken aback that in the Constitution, where there is separation of powers and where we have been made by the provision of the Constitution for us to make laws, that somebody is trying to do our job. I had expected that whatever that the judiciary would do is to interpret, and in the course of interpretation, can still refer back to the National Assembly to say, please, do this.
The issue that was addressed by this parliament, to which the president signed, had nothing to do with public service. And that court misinterpreted that position. If they had included the National Assembly in that suit, National Assembly would have been able to bring clarity to the matter by pointing to them that the issue had nothing to do with public servants, but political appointees. The truth in this country, Mr. Speaker, is that we elect the president. He appoints his aides. Members of the National Assembly are also elected. We appoint our aides. You cannot expect our aides to begin to claim the same privileges as we have. So also should the aides of Mr. President not claim to want to have the same privileges that the president, who was actually elected, should have.
There's no such provision in the Constitution of the land where statements or provisions of the laws are meant to address people who are appointed into political offices in this country. No such provision is meant. And what we're trying to do is simply to address that lacuna. I want to believe we should not allow the judiciary as an institution to not only unnecessarily indict this institution.
The supposed plaintiff in this case had no injury that he has sustained in the matter. Unless I'm wrong, I don't know him to be a political appointee that was affected by the law. He was really nothing more than a meddlesome interloper. The pulpit here, like they say, appeal to the Attorney General to tarry and not usurp or go into the functions, legitimate constitutional functions of the National Assembly, because apparently he intends to carry out the order of the court. I will appeal from here that the Attorney General should stop and desist for now.
National Drug Law Enforcement Agency operatives have seized over 1.9 million tablets of tramadol and codeine imported into the country from Pakistan and the United Kingdom through the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos. NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi, in a statement on Wednesday, said about 40 cartons of cocodamol, a brand of paracetamol with codeine, which is classified as opioid, were seized from a freight agent, Erukeme Ehiz. Babafemi added that also about 349,800 tablets of the drug weighing 336 kilograms came in from London as a consolidated cargo through the Sacco import shed of the airport, declared as personal effects but discovered to contain some medicaments. According to the spokesman, other seizures include 17 cartons of 250 mg tramadol branded as Tamara, weighing 669.70 kg, and 5 cartons of 225 milligram tramadol under the brand name Royal with a gross weight of 217.15 kilogram. 150-year-old Oyewumi Ahmed was arrested as well. You're still watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Knitting clothes for decades. Do stay.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Here's a look at some of our top stories. You heard that All Progressives Congress governors have declared their support for the candidate endorsed by President Muhammadu Buhari ahead of the party's convention. You also heard that NDLEA operatives have seized over 1.9 million tablets of tramadol and codeine imported into the country from Pakistan and the United Kingdom. On education, federal government has continued its meeting with the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Polytechnics to renegotiate its 2010 and 2017 agreements. Speaking on behalf of the government, Chairman of the Renegotiation Committee, Waziri Bulama, explains that the committee had observed that most of the demands and issues raised by the unions are similar, adding that the government is ready to play its part towards ensuring that all of the issues raised are resolved.
What this committee has observed is that most of the problems are similar and generic. And the government is ready to look into these issues seriously with a view to collectively finding solutions to the problems afflicting this sector. There are problems relating to infrastructure. There are problems relating to staff issues. And there are, of course, many other issues relating to policy that need reforms.
Each of the sectors, each of the unions, they all have their issues. This particular process started since 2017, and so it's not is not leaning on what is going on in the other subsectors. And I think it's a positive development that that the government at this time, through this team, has decided to resume discussions with unions in Nigerian polytechnics. And our prayer is that the outcome will be such that will be beneficial to the Nigerian society at large.
If Ukrainian President Zelensky will be reaching out to Putin for direct talk, despite the banding and what they are experiencing, I think it's only good we open our mind and believe this meeting, this renegotiation will bring out positive results. And having said that, we want to seize this opportunity to appeal to many Nigerians to help impress it and influence the president, the father of the nation, to please append his signature, give his assent to the bill, the dichotomy, abrogation of dichotomy bill, recently passed by the National Assembly.
Knitting of clothes and decorative materials has been a source of livelihood for many families in northern Nigeria for a long time. However, some knitters say the business is not buoyant anymore. A 50-year-old retired nurse in Gombe, Christina Dadan, has been knitting for more than 3 decades. She told Trust TV that the business is threatened by hot weather conditions in the north. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Knitting is not just a business to this quinquagenarian, but a lifetime hobby she grew with since she was a child.
This knitting work, I started it from childhood. My mother used to knit some caps, so I started emulating her by using some broomsticks to knit some things like that. And when I became used to it, I can knit something reasonable. So I started knitting from primary school as I craft. In those days, we used to have a course, a subject called craft, handwork. So my handwork was always the knitting work. And my teachers used to patronize it right from primary school. And when I finished the primary school, I still continue to build on it. Anywhere I see any wool work, I will ask and I will develop myself on it. And I started to knit some sweaters with knitting pins like this. There is hand knitting like this one. And even some books that have knitting work, this wool craft of people doing home economics. Even though I didn't offer it as a course in school, home economics, but anywhere I see any handwork of wool, I will follow it and learn something in it. And I developed myself in it. I knit very well, and in fact, it helped me a lot.
Mrs. Christina's career in nursing did not stop her from the knitting job, which won her trophies in life.
I achieved a lot. I achieved a lot because with the knitting work, even though I'm a civil servant, my salary, I keep it aside. I eat what I use with my hands. This is what I feed on. And in fact, I have many assets based on my salary because I don't collect loan, I don't do anything. I eat what I use with my hand, and my salary, I keep it for projects. And it has helped me a lot. In fact, I won an award. During the time of good luck, there's something they do as called You Win. I use this as a business in You Win, and I won it. This knitting work, I use it. That is what I entered in as a business, and I got a lot.
How do you feel when you won that award?
I was so happy. People were saying, no, use your profession. Maybe you can build a nursing home because I'm a nurse as a professional. Maybe you can build a hospital or something. I said, no, there are many people doing that. But this knitting work, people don't like it much. They look at it as a small thing. But it is not so small as they think.
However, the retired nurse is worried that the business is not lucrative now as it used to be.
Business is not driving as it used to be. Before, people are patronizing it. We knit their sweaters for children, for all these uniform professionals. They will request us to knit. But now, people are not patronizing it much. And the wool is so costly now. If you ask somebody, if he says knit a sweater for me and you tell him the price, he will say, It's too expensive. I better go for Okrika.
Christina now operates a shop where she sells soft drinks and showcases some of her products to put food on the table. The 50-year-old woman has a message to young Nigerians.
My advice to young people is they should not sit idle. They should find something, no matter how small it is. If they can start on something, in fact, if they grow in it, they will like that thing and it will even earn them a living. They cannot just sit and say because they are going to school. After school, they will get a big job. But let them just do these small things.
Economic experts believe that government does not have the capacity to employ all graduates from Nigerian universities. However, small businesses can help youth to be self-reliant. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
And finally, on the foreign scene, recovery teams deployed drones and thermal imaging equipment Thursday across a mountainous area where a China Eastern plane inexplicably crashed with 132 people on board. 4 days after flight MU-5735 plunged into rugged terrain near Wuzhou in southern China, officials are yet to declare all of the 123 passengers and 9 crew dead. The velocity of the crash cut deep wounds into the muddy ground, scattered plane parts and passenger belongings across a vast area, dashing hopes of finding survivors in what will almost certainly be China's worst air crash in 3 decades. Officials late Wednesday said human remains have been found, but on-the-ground searchers have not ruled out finding survivors trapped in the densely forested, mud-slicked slopes. With that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.